Russia could launch a nuclear attack. Within months, Russia has the biggest nuclear arsenal in the world. Putin could use a tactical nuclear weapon. Russia is already in a position to destroy the world several times over. Their humanity is just when misunderstanding, when miscalculation, away from nuclear annihilation to papas in a battle for supremacy in Ukraine. A personalist's music. Fundamental role of US nuclear weapons is to deter nuclear attacks on the United States, on our allies and partners. They are bragging that they can destroy with nuclear weapons not only a certain country but the entire planet. With nuclear-armed nations locking horns, could the cause of war force Russia to resort to its deadly nuclear weapons? And in Putin's nuclear arsenal is the biggest weapon ever made, the world's largest ever nuclear device. The Tsar Burma, or the Emperor of Bombs. Music. October 30, 1961, the peak of the Cold War, and Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev sent an unmistakable warning to the West. What happened on October 30, 1961? Music. Applause. A Soviet Tu-95V bomber took off from the Alenia airfield in the Kola Peninsula in the far north of Russia. The plane, painted bright white to lessen the impact of the mega bomb's flash, arrived at its target point, Novaya Zemlya, a sparsely populated area in the Barents Sea. The pilot brought his Bear bomber to Mytushi Kabe, a Soviet testing range at a height of 34,000 feet. Following him was another modified 216 to film the blast that would make history. The massive bomb was attached to a parachute meant to delay its fall and the detonation attempt to give the pilot enough time to fly out of range. Even so, the chances of survival for the Soviet crew were grim. The odds were only 50% that they would live. They reached their destination, opened the locks and dropped their deadly cargo at 11:32 a.m. Moscow time. The bomb exploded. The fireball 8 kilometers wide. The explosion produced about 57,000 kilotons of energy. It was so intense that the flash could be seen from 1,000 kilometers away. Severny, an uninhabited village 55 kilometers from ground zero, was leveled. All buildings within this radius were completely destroyed. Windows within hundreds of kilometers were broken. The bomb was detonated 4 kilometers above the ground to minimize radioactive fallout, but even then, the ground below the explosion was incinerated by the intense heat. The rocks turned to ash. The plumes kept rising until they reached nearly 65 kilometers high. The shock wave generated after the explosion was so big that it traveled 3 times around the Earth. On the ground, the heat from the explosion was so much that even 100 kilometers away from the blast site it would have caused third-degree burns, and although the warhead was detonated miles above the ground, it generated a strong seismic wave with a magnitude of over 5. A Soviet cameraman described the explosion like this: the clouds beneath the aircraft and in the distance were lit up by the powerful flash. The sea of light spread under the hatch, and even clouds began to glow and became transparent. At that moment, our aircraft emerged from between 2 cloud layers, and down below, in the gap, a huge bright orange ball was emerging. The ball was powerful and arrogant like Jupiter. Slowly and silently it crept upwards. Having broken through the thick layer of clouds, it kept growing. It seemed to suck the whole Earth into it. The spectacle was fantastic, unreal, supernatural. Music. How big was the Tsar Bomba? The bomb was 8 meters long, had a diameter of nearly 2.6 meters and weighed more than 27 tons, the weight of 5 elephants. It was so big it couldn't even fit in the internal view of the huge plane that flew it to the test site. And the scale of its power was staggering. First in a test in the United States, it was 2,000 times more powerful than the American bomb dropped on Nagasaki, 10 times the total firepower used in the entire Second World War. Little boy, it was 15 kilotons of TNT. The Tsar Bomba was equivalent to 58 megatons of TNT. Music. As immense as it was, the Tsar bomber was still only half as powerful as its Original plan: the first blueprint was for a bomb with 100 megaton yield. But Soviet scientists feared the radiation could blanket the entire northern part of the Soviet Union. Eventually, the original 3 layers of uranium were replaced with 3 layers of lead to cut its impact in half. That call was taken by one of the 3 people who played critical roles in the journey of the Tsar Bomba, Andrei Sakharov. This Soviet nuclear scientist developed the bomb along with his team, but he later became a disarmament crusader faced with the extent of devastation that nuclear bombs he had helped to create could cause. Sakharov was later awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, but in 1961 Sakharov was following the orders of Nikita Khrushchev, the man who was leading the Soviet Union and wanted his country to have the world's biggest bomb. The third man who made the Tsar Bomba possible was Andrew 3 Do Not Step, the pilot who dropped the bomb.